Hey everyone, welcome back to Trunk Talk. My name is Charlotte.
And I'm Pat.
And we're back. You're back.
I'm back.
Two in a row. And today we're going to be talking about something that could be a little bit more relevant, especially given what's going on in the world right now. And that's going to be navigating new vehicle pricing. And hopefully next week we'll have used vehicle pricing. So what we're going to break down for you guys today is going to be three key factors. As we're going to talk about factors that influence new vehicle pricing that can sometimes be out of our realm of control. We're also going to be talking about some need-to-know expert tips before you come in and buy your vehicle, or expert pricing information, I'll say. And then also some negotiation tactics from yours truly, because you own a dealership, and we'll say you can tell people like what you'll discount, what you're willing, when you're willing to discount. So,
yeah, sure.
So that's kind of what we're going to be navigating today. So I think that it's only fair to start off. But before we do that, if you're watching this on YouTube, please like this video. Please comment down below if you found this helpful before you've already watched it, obviously. And if you are streaming this, please go check out our YouTube channel too. It's called the Kia Hyundai channel. You'll never believe what we film there. And if you want to find more videos on specific automotive content or Kia and Hyundai specific things, you can find everything there.
Yeah, and on YouTube, we watch the comments. So if you guys go in and have a question, we answer them.
Yes, definitely.
So we try and comment on a lot of posts. And sometimes like our last session, I did a bunch of the responses myself. So yeah, all right, let's do this.
All right, so let's talk about the basics of new vehicle pricing. So I feel like there's a couple different things that can go into this. So, things like costs, supply chain, also just inflation in general. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, manufacturers are going to build a product and they're going to sell it wholesale to their dealer, and then they're going to give us a suggested price on that car, and depending on the brand determines the margin. Like, for example, our Ferrari would have over 20% markup. A lot of Porsche products have over 20%.
Yep.
Kia and Hyundai are kind of on the other segment where, we're kind of in that 5 to 7% margin, like dealer margin.
Yes.
So it's pretty modest versus a bunch of the other brands. And so when a manufacturer manufactures something, they determine what they can sell it for. They sell it to their dealer, and then their dealer resells it. Now, what happens if the product isn't selling? That's when you see incentives. So if the day's supply within the country increases and it's getting over an amount, then you may see a $500 factory to dealer credit, or you may see reduced interest rates or special lease rates.
And that's all stuff that I feel like we're just starting to see it coming back now. Like, I feel like it's been forever since I've seen, $500 incentive on XYZ vehicles.
Yeah.
And a lot of that is just because things are starting to get back to normal after the post-COVID supply too.
In 2020, we had some pretty big incentives.
Yes.
And then
like
with the supply chain issue and running out of product in November of 21, I remember starting the month and we had something like 16 cars in stock, and that's when I told everybody, yeah, you can't sell any of these. I'm like, what do you mean? So we had to keep them, so we had a demo to show, and then we sold off of them. And in that area, it didn't make sense for manufacturers to incentivize anything. In fact, we saw a fair amount of price increases. No, not so much Kia, but a bunch of the other brands had some pretty significant price increases because they could. Yeah.
So to make it more Kia and Hyundai specific, is a lot of imports or vehicles that are more of like econo brands, for lack of a better term, not your Highlines, not your exotic, stuff like that.
Value brand.
Value brand.
Yeah.
Value brand.
Yeah.
They that's better than econo. Is we tend to be more so on the lower side of things, like exactly what you said.
In margin, we are.
In margin, but also just in our price increases. Like they're considerably minimal compared when you compare it to like vehicles.
They definitely have been modest. Like a lot of brands don't have a car, and we have the K4 that starts at $23,995 plus your freight and taxes.
Yeah.
Just to touch on something, freight. Yeah. So in new car pricing, there's a freight fee, and basically that's the cost to get it from wherever it's built to the dealer, and they charge the same amount across the country. So a lot of our product, it's $2,100, and even though it comes in the Vancouver port and there's Vancouver dealers, they pay $2,100. Whereas if it's going all the way to the other side, like to Newfoundland, they pay $2,100. So it's just the same amount to move the cars, and everybody pays the same amount.
And that's standardized. There are, of course, going to be some provincial or territorial-based fees that are going to differ, but stuff like that that is standardized, which is nice. It is nice sometimes when things are standard because you're like it's like this all over the country. Another thing I want to mention, I'll get your take on it too. Is
Sure.
I feel like one of the things that I wish that customers remembered is just like, you know, your stores, like your grocery store, if you're shopping for clothing and stuff like that, is dealerships at the end of the day, they are businesses. And what's the purpose of a business is to make money. If you're not doing that, you don't have a very good business.
It's a hobby.
It's a hobby, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we need to make a profit or else we don't survive. And bluntly, you know, if we're making a fair profit, the better we do, the more than that we can do for our customers.
But sometimes I think that, and a part of this is that, you know, we understand that dealerships do or can have a negative image or negative stereotypes.
And there's times where the dealer deserved that.
Yes.
Because,
yeah.
You know, during COVID, there was a bunch of dealers that, you know, because they could charge $5,000 market adjustment fees, they did. And I personally thought that was wrong. We chose not to take that step. I thought it was short-sighted, but a lot of guys made a lot of money. And, you know, like I know if someone gouged me, I would remember it. And so you want to make sure that who you're dealing with, they have to make a profit. It has to be a win-win deal. It just needs to be a fair profit.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say is it's got to be something that is fair.
Right.
So, because then everyone is benefiting, you know.
Yeah, like Starbucks makes a profit.
Yes, and they're benefiting, but people complain about the price of a $6 coffee, but they keep going back, so.
They make a good profit, I'm guessing.
Okay, so what are some Ontario-specific fees that we see, or even more just standardized ones? Like if you're looking at a new car bill of sale.
You know, in Ontario, we have some laws that govern what we do, and the main thing is it has to be all-in pricing. So it used to be you could advertise a car for $23,995, and then you'd go into the dealership, you'd be like, oh yeah, well it's plus this, plus this, plus this, plus this. So that is no longer allowed. What you advertise it for, it needs to be readily available for that price. And so actually, we just got mystery shopped and passed no problem. We got a notification because we do all-in pricing. We make sure that what's on our website is what we charge.
Now, what doesn't need to be included in all-in pricing but does need to be disclosed?
So taxes. So we have a 13% HST and license fee. So all of our ads will say plus licensing and tax.
And if you're in Ontario, depending on if you're getting new or used plates, your licensing is going to vary from $32 to $59.
Right.
So it's not a huge item.
So the majority of dealers charge an administration fee to cover their overhead. The car companies sometimes will charge a fee for different paint. They'll charge, if the car has air conditioning, there's a $100 tax that you have to pay. There's a tire tax that we have to pay, which is modest. It's like maybe
$30.
Yeah, between $24 and $30. And then, of course, the price of the car. And so that's what you're going to see on the bill of sale. And
I feel like it's all in the first portion of the bill of sale, and I feel like that's the most painful to get through because you're like, okay, I see that MSRP because that is disclosed on the bill of sale, and then you're like, taxes, fees, and it sucks.
But if you add up, you know, the selling price, the freight, the taxes, and everything like that, it adds up to what we're advertising.
To the all-in pricing. Yeah, it's just a full breakdown.
It's just a breakdown, right?
Admin fee, I'll actually ask you about that.
Sure.
That is something that can actually be set and capped by the manufacturer.
Yeah. We have caps in the Kia world, $599 on a vehicle with an internal combustion engine and $799 on an EV.
Yeah. And
that's what we're allowed to charge. Some dealers will charge accessory packages. Like I know my friends out west, everybody seems to want a
block heater.
And so they have packages where they charge for a block heater, and when the car comes in, they just automatically put it on.
Yeah, which makes sense. So that's really going to be the basics of new vehicle pricing in and of itself. A couple, of course, the included fees, what you kind of should know before you go in, and then what can you really expect before you go and purchase it. You know, we've talked about what's going to be on your bill of sale. What would be some of the other differences between the MSRP of the vehicle, but then the also out the door price? Because when we do YouTube videos, we just say the MSRP.
Right. Well, I mean, we talked about taxes and all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
If there's incentives, so from time to time, there's going to be a factor to dealer incentive, and so that can reduce the price. You know, like we have, if you're military, there's a discount. If you're a recent college grad, there's a discount. If you have to have mobility accessories installed, we have discounts for that. If the car isn't selling really well and there's a ton of them on the lot, the factory could put a discount on, and a lot of dealers would discount
Mhm.
because, we want to make sure that we're keeping inventory really fresh.
Yep, definitely.
Yeah.
So as you start to see, that outgoing model year, even if it's carryover
Yeah.
model year, if it's 24, 25, or 24 heading into the 2025 model season, not necessarily the year, that's kind of when you're going to start to see some more discounts coming into play right now
Yep.
too. So we have
Now,
someone
if
like,
it's a car
yeah.
that you can't get, you're not going to see a discount.
No, no,
So if it's something that there's no day
which makes
supply,
sense.
everything that's incoming sold, there just won't be a discount.
Yeah.
From the dealer or the manufacturer.
And that's pretty basic, and that's
Yeah.
pretty standard stuff. It's not exclusive, of course, to the auto industry. It's just what it is. What about loyalty incentives? Is if you are loyal to a brand, if you continue to shop at them, but also dealers, what can that do for you?
Yeah, so I know both Kia and Hyundai have loyalty programs. The Kia program is if you've owned a Kia and you've had an on-the-road license for more than 6 months, then they're willing to give you a 1% discount on the lease rate or the finance rate.
Yeah.
And so that's helpful. On the Hyundai side, it's changed a few times. There's cash discounts, and in certain periods, the cash discounts could be even more. They run specific sales and things like that. So if you're loyal to a brand, it's likely that you're going to get a discount. I know that certainly we like to look after the people who support us. And
Yeah.
so sometimes we'll comp them some free service.
Well, that's what I was going to say too, is I feel like we're so lucky because we have a really awesome customer base on the sales and service end of things. And if you're able to go in and you have like a relationship with your dealer too and your salesperson, they're gonna, the goal is always to treat you fairly no matter who you are. But when you have a relationship, there's going to be you're going to want to do more things for them and stuff like that too.
Yeah.
So like you said, service or maybe some accessories or stuff like that, and
Right.
just making sure that they're taken care of because you have that relationship too.
That's right.
Which is, I don't know, I think it's really nice too. Like I love going into places and they know, if I'm getting my coffee and they know my name, they know my order, and they're like, oh yeah, we've got it ready for you. I'm like, wow, that is so generous of
I was
you.
at Subway and the gal, I must be going to Subway a lot because she knew my order.
What's your order?
Let's not talk about that.
I was gonna say, you don't even know your order. Just a girl at the Subway. No, but I think stuff like that is really, really cool. Obviously, financing and leasing is also going to put an effect on what you see on your bill of sale or on your lease agreement. And I think that there's a couple things there that people may forget about or not understand in terms of interest, or also your PPSA. That was a huge question that I would get is, what is this fee at the bottom?
The PPSA stands for the Personal Property Security Act. And basically, if you're borrowing money on a car, they put a lien on it. And so that's the cost to charge and discharge the lien. And so it's part of every bank contract, and it gets blended in with the interest rate, and they disclose what the blended rate is.
Yep, definitely. And then obviously, if you are looking at your bill of sale down at the bottom, you're also going to go and see what the interest cost is going to be based off of your term. Now, all of our lenders, it's, you're able to have an open loan, so you're able to make additional payments towards the principal, which will then reduce that, which is really fantastic to see.
From time to time, you get really low rates depending on what incentives are.
Yeah,
Sometimes
definitely.
it's zero.
Okay, so that's more so of what you should be expecting to see on your bill of sale, or also before you go in and purchase a vehicle. And then let's talk about negotiation, because I feel like a lot of people will want to know this. And I feel like we've already touched on it a little bit too. I feel like having rapport already gives you a little bit more bargaining power. But what are some other things people have said to you or people have done where you're like, you know what? Yes.
So I'm going to give you my opinion, and this is just based on Pat Hart. I like to deal with people that I like.
Oh, well, yeah. Okay, that's groundbreaking.
If I'm dealing with somebody that is obnoxious, then I couldn't care less if I sell them a car. So yeah, I'm not going to work the deal at all.
Sometimes the headache isn't worth the the profit that you would make. You know?
One of my lines is the only thing worse than not selling a car is selling a car when you shouldn't have. And meaning it's just someone that is never going to be happy and it's just going to suck your soul. And we've had a few of those, but it's pretty rare. Our customer base is really, really good.
They're really awesome.
So first thing, you got to know, is this the car for me? And you got to know what your budget is.
Definitely.
Deal with somebody that you like as far as that's selling the car. And, they need to be trustworthy. If they're not trustworthy, walk out.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know that the dealer needs to make a fair profit. And the number one thing to do in negotiation is if you don't ASK, you don't GET. I think you've learned that, right?
So yeah, the benefit, or maybe the drawback for you, is I grew up with that. So growing up,
no
and I
problem
still do,
asking.
I have no problem asking for
Yeah.
anything. And yeah, hey, do you want to buy me dinner tonight?
Sure.
Because if you don't shoot your shot, you know,
Yeah.
you're automatically putting your percentage of, you know, obtaining that at zero.
Yeah.
If you ask, you're 50-50.
You miss 100% of
The
shots you don't take.
Wayne Gretzky.
So ask. Start there.
Yeah, definitely. If there's something that you want, ask for it, see what you can do, and if not, see if you can work towards a commonality, something that is fair.
Be friendly, ask, and you know, obviously, if you don't feel like you're being treated fairly, absolutely leave.
Yeah. On a side note, I think things that can help in negotiation too, or just another avenue where you can negotiate to get a lower price off of the vehicle that you're purchasing, is having a trade, and having like a trade that you've taken care of to a desirable trade.
I mean, like
obviously.
If we can get a desirable car that we know we can sell, it feeds our used car department, then we're more apt to help out. If it's a car that is unsaleable, we'll, you know, quote what we can get for it, and that'll be that.
Yeah, a lot of times too is when you are incorporating a trade, is, you know, you can say, hey, like, can you meet me here for my trade? You know, can you give me that extra 500? Because that's still going to reduce your payment by about $5 bi-weekly probably. Or you can say, you know what, can you get here if I include the second set of wheels, or you know.
There's so much data on trades. We know what our reconditioning costs are going to be. We know what the auction, what they're selling for if we had to liquidate. We know the market day supply. So is it a car that sells well used? We know what the average sale price is, what transaction prices are. So we've got all this data that we can come up with value. And we just ask to see that. You know, does it seem reasonable? You know, if the market day supply on a car is, you know, 120 days, that means it's going to take us 4 months to sell the car. Yeah. It's likely we're going to lose money on it. So we're going to give you a modest offer on your trade.
So again, if you have a trade and, you know, you want to understand how they got that value, say, you know, show me the data behind it, show it. Or if you don't understand it, you know, show me and explain to me how you ended up at this figure. And again, if you don't have ASK, you don't GET.
That's the number one rule.
So I think that pretty much sums up some of the navigating new vehicle prices and also just some negotiation tactics. So I think that's really it for today's episode. Is there anything else you want to add?
Listen, we look forward to your comments. Ask any questions that you have, and we'll do our best to answer them.
Yeah, I feel like this is the stuff I really enjoy talking about, like the more business-ended things of it.
Sure.
I think because I don't necessarily get to use that part of my brain every single day. Like, you know.
Think win-win when you're buying
Since I've been in school, yeah, think win-win.
Think win-win.
Yeah.
Is everybody winning? Then it's probably
fair. Probably a good deal, and everyone's probably going to end up happy, which is good. But with that being said, thank you guys so much for joining us today as we were talking about new vehicle prices. Hopefully next week we'll be here with Garth, our used car manager, for used vehicle prices and understanding that a little bit more. But until then, my name is Charlotte.
And I'm Pat.
And we will see you guys next time. Thank you so much. Bye.